Have the Vice President, the Secretary of State, go to Dharamsala, India, and meeting with the Dalai Lama and saying, we are behind you guys.
With the so-called Sinicization campaign.
Recognize that Tibet has never been a part of China.
This applies to Christians, Catholics, Uyghur Muslims, Tibetans, and other religious groups. We are all persecuted.
We are seeing something unprecedented really right now in the world, and I've been in this work in this space for some period of time. There's an alliance of nations that's emerged that see religious freedom as the greatest internal threat to their dictatorial control. This alliance of communist, authoritarian, totalitarian regimes will literally stop at nothing to control people of faith. They see people of faith as a threat. This also represents an opportunity for us. If we will look at religious freedom not as some sort of side humanitarian issue or a human right, a boutique human right, but would see it as a major global security issue. This represents the best tool, I believe, that we have to go at these regimes and to attack them in return. And you just look at how much they spend on controlling their people of faith, it should tell you something that that's an area we should look in. Communist China will spend billions of dollars this year alone to suppress every faith that exists in that country. They'll suppress the Uyghur Muslims, they'll suppress the Tibetan Buddhists, they'll suppress the Christians, and they save their greatest anger and bile for the Falun Gong, domestically grown group. We should see them as our greatest ally. These are people behind enemy lines that will stand up to the regime, that will stand up to the oppressors, because they overcome their fear with their interior faith. They will fight, even if it means their life. And often it does mean their life.
How much are the Chinese spending? Who are they sharing that technology with? Has that technology arrived, let's say, in Nicaragua or in the Western Hemisphere?
I've got a book coming out in May on this, on China's war on faith. When the book had been written, and it's at the publishers now, it was in 80 countries, the various surveillance technologies and various iterations of it. Under Chen Quanguo, just a brief history, Chen Quanguo was the party chairman over Tibet initially 20 years ago. He's the guy that they first sent to implement these sort of techniques of suppression of a religion. They did it on the Tibetans first. He was so effective, they moved him to Xinjiang, which is East Turkestan, the Turkish people population, and said, this is going to be tougher, and they gave him more money. And he combined old and new techniques there, both a digital gulag, and they've actually had gulags in prison camps. They've now transitioned to labor camps. The actual number of the amount of money spent, I don't have in front of me. Adrian Zenz would be a great source for this. He works for the Victims of Communism Foundation, has been one of the best researchers, but it's in the billions that they use this with. The thing that concerns me about it the most is twofold. One is they literally now can find a needle in a haystack. They can find that one person out of 100,000 that will actually lead people against a regime that's driven by their faith. They can pinpoint that person and get him or her. The second is the ability to target ideology. Now you can really drill in and teach people the lie on a very effective, targeted basis. So you get these two together, and then you give them to a whole bunch of other authoritarian regimes. They can take out the problem, and they can drill in the lie to people on a broad basis, and no new technology needs to be invented. That's why I'm saying that we really have got to act on these things now. But you act through these people that are people of faith and back them. Have the Vice President, the Secretary of State, go to Dharamsala, India, and meeting with the Dalai Lama and saying, we are behind you guys. Recognize that Tibet has never been a part of China. It is not. There's a book just out now. It came out last week. NED backed it. It's 1,100 pages, all off of Chinese imperial records that say Tibet is not part of China. And the only sourcing is Chinese imperial records. It's not a part of China no more than Kazakhstan was a part of Russia.
Sure.
And East Turkestan is not, these are not Chinese. I think we've really got to start just pulling the layers off and calling it.
October 10th, 2025, my father, Pastor Ezra, was arrested by the Chinese authorities along with 27 other pastors and church leaders from Zion Church. 18 remain in prison today. This represents the largest crackdown of an independent Christian congregation in China since the Cultural Revolution, a sweep so brazen it has drawn international condemnation, including from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Many were seized in front of their young children, and my father and several older leaders suffer from health issues, and we fear for their well-being. I urge the Chinese government to release all these Zion members immediately and unconditionally. My father founded Zion Church in 2007 with the simple mission to remain faithful to the scripture and to serve families and communities. The church grew from just 2 families into China's largest urban house church with more than 1,500 members. Yet to understand why my father is in prison today, you must understand that China under Chairman Xi Jinping has embarked on a systematic campaign to achieve total state control over religious life beginning in 2016 with the so-called Sinicization campaign. This applies to Christians, Catholics, Uyghur Muslims, Tibetans, and other religious groups. We are all persecuted.
People of all faiths are subjected to deplorable treatment by the Chinese Communist Party. As we speak, Uyghur Muslims in China are suffering genocide. Today, they are still brutally repressed. Many are shipped off to labor camps. I've asked them. They told me we have nothing to hide, they being the Chinese. The foreign minister put out a statement. So as chairman of the China Commission, I wrote him a letter immediately. I've been calling him ever since. I said, I want to lead a delegation to go to Xinjiang, to go to the camps. Crickets, nothing. They won't get back to us. They have everything to hide, and they are not even close to being transparent.
The United States has both a moral authority and strategic interest. And I really want to drive that point because this is actually a very strategic issue we must embrace, and we might need to lead on this issue. We must insist on religious freedom consistently, unapologetically, and urgently before the space for belief and dissent and human dignity closes further for everybody, and before the cost of inaction becomes far greater than the cost of leadership. Thank you.